coming out soon is the Stonewall movie, and I know there's been mixed reactions to that from a variety of people. The trailer, we can't show it to our viewers here, unfortunately, but you guys can check it out on YouTube later. The criticism seems to be that it looks like they may be whitewashing and cis-washing the story a bit. And for those of our viewers who may not be familiar with what cis is, it just means basically that you feel like you are the gender that you were born with your whatever cackle, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, if that matches, then you're cis, and if it doesn't, then you are not cis or whatever. And so, like, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your feelings on what you've seen so far. I know we haven't watched the movie yet, but go ahead and expand a little bit.
Yeah, right. I mean, given what we know so far, like, I'm glad that it's happening. We need to learn about our history. There's so many young people that, are like 11, 12 years old that are, discovering their sexuality. That's about the age when I was like, I know I'm gay now. So, I mean, I think it's important that we get history. But yeah, as you said, the criticisms, they're actually true about it. I mean, the individuals who actually were cited as throwing the first brick or bottle or whatever it was that basically initiated the riot and catalyzed the LGBT movement, it wasn't a cis white male. It was two transgender women of color, Marsha Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. And this is based off of like hundreds of witness accounts of people who were, involved in the movement. Both of them, unfortunately, they passed away since. But yeah, so I think that it's important that, they tell the truth. Now, again, I don't know if these individuals are even in the movie at all. I can't necessarily say that. But I would have loved to get like a more accurate depiction, of what happened, because, I mean, these are the mothers, of the LGBT movement. They started it, you know what I mean? Without them, where would we be? Would the riot have started? Without the riot, would we have an LGBT movement? So yeah, I'm disappointed just based on what I saw, because I would like more accuracy. But, this isn't something that's surprising when it comes to Hollywood, because with a lot of movies, they'll change it up. They want to make someone that, focus groups will say, yes, I like this guy. I can identify with this guy. He's a white male, you know what I mean? But a transgender woman of color, I mean, maybe they did it because, there's less acceptance for transgender people. But I think that, if you like gay rights and you're pro-equality, well, then we got to tell the truth. These are the people that started it all. They were there all along. Transgender people didn't just pop up into existence 10 years ago. They were with us, fighting right beside us, as gay people all along. And so, yeah, man, as a gay person, I'm thankful for the Stonewall riots and whatnot. But yeah, I just want accuracy. But that's my one gripe. I hope I'm not being like too picky. But yeah, I'll still probably check it out. But yeah.
No, I think you're totally right that it's important that we highlight these parts of history. And the trailer, if people do watch it, a little warning, it is a bit graphic and it does have some language that can be triggers or whatever. And so, like, right. I think it's important that we see that, and I think it's important that we see it in vivid color, like they did Selma also, in a way that I think it's important to describe these realities in ways that people can actually understand. And it's unfortunately, like you said, it's kind of a reality that a lot of people will just have an easier time seeing themselves in the main character or whatever than might happen with a trans leader of their star in the show. But it's important it would be nice to know that they at least acknowledge that in the retelling of the story, that they've made up a character and that character is replacing what several other people might have done, which is most likely, that's happened in other movies, and it's unfortunate that we do that. It's kind of the commercialism and capitalism tinge to what happens to when we tell historical stories, especially in movies. And so, like, I think it's important to get it out there, but it's also important to have it as accurate as possible. So, and at least let people know what's going on, because on that line, as far as like kind of rewriting history, that's a common theme in this country. We have very little history relative to the rest of the world. We're a couple hundred years old. There's many nations out there that are thousands of years old, and even in some of the countries that you mentioned where literacy may not be as high as it is in the United States, the average person may have a better historical context than the average American does of even what happened a few weeks ago.
Sure, and so, yeah, totally.
And so I think that's a really important aspect to consider when we're looking at these things. But we have a tendency to rewrite things. And the Pope is canonizing somebody. It's pretty much on every channel, as Foxworthy would say. And it's they're canonizing a guy who the Native community in this country is pretty avidly points out was not a positive influence in their communities. That the proselytization of the people looked a lot like genocide for those, and that there was some enslavement going on. And so it's I've heard him mention it a couple times, basically that there were some there was some opposition or some rabble about about the person that they were canonizing, but then that's it. That's all they say. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't describe what it was or why it was, or the relevance or the legitimacy of the concerns or any of that. And I think it just shows how ingrained it is into our society. That beyond I don't want to go too much into of what canonization is and making somebody a saint and such, but that we're able to tell ourselves these stories in a way that is so, I think, disingenuous is unfortunate. And so hopefully the concern with the Stonewall movie, we see some context provided that people might not have gotten otherwise.
Right, and to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, like, one thing that I've kind of noticed is that, like, obviously anyone who I'm a friend with, they support gay rights, but I'll notice, like, these Facebook posts, that are not necessarily, like, overtly transphobic, but, it's soft bigotry. Like, how is a transgender person a hero? And I think that just the way that, like, American media kind of helped further gay acceptance. Well, what if this movie, what if you're a supporter of gay rights, but you're not too keen on trans rights yet? What if this movie is what flipped them? That's why I think it's so important. You know what I mean? Because if you're excited that, your friend, your family member who's gay now has some rights based on, that fight that was started right there, in the Stonewall riots, well, then you'd say, well, look, transgender people, they helped, my son, my daughter get those rights. So, I want to fight for their rights now, too. You know what I mean? We got to help each other. I mean, transgender rights and LGBT rights, they're grouped together because, in essence, what the controversy about is the same thing. We're born into these prescriptive gender stereotypes, and everyone in the LGBT community violates them. Gay people violate those stereotypes because they are with men. Like, for example, I'm with a man, and I'm supposed to be with a woman because that's part of masculinity. And if you're transgender, you know what I mean? Well, you're born transgender, so you're supposed to act masculine. You're not supposed to wear, dresses. That's just, the prescribed role. So the fight is, in my opinion, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I would have really liked the accuracy, but with that being said, I'll keep an open mind and I'll watch it, and see.